This female ghost carries a heavy grudge. She won't stop until the torment in her soul is released. But there's one thing I can't wrap my head around. Even if the pond was drained and rebuilt, the 4 sealed jars were still there. So how on earth did she manage to break free? At that moment, I don't know why I obeyed the exorcist's instructions without question. Maybe it was because, when I stood in front of him, I felt an overwhelming sense of trust, like he could actually help me. Without thinking twice, I rushed into Uncle Ben's shed, grabbed the short shovel, and sprinted down to the pond. I followed his exact directions, measure out 3 handspans at each corner of the pond, dig deep, and do you know what I found? 4 small jars, each about the size of a clenched fist. Each one was wrapped tightly with 2 threads crossed in an X shape. I had no idea what they were, so I brought them back to the old man. He examined them carefully, then turned to Uncle Ben and said, "You're lucky. Someone already tried to help you once. They used talismanic magic to seal the ghost beneath this
Pond! If not for that, you'd have joined your ancestors a long time ago. What are you saying, sir? A ghost? What ghost? Where is it?"
Uncle Ben stammered, glancing nervously around. The exorcist remained calm as ever and replied, "It's been on your land all this time. It couldn't harm anyone because someone bound it here using spirit seals. But somehow, it's broken."
Free now? He nodded toward the fish pond. Uncle Ben's hands began to tremble. I could see the fear rising in him. He grabbed the old man's hand and pleaded, "Please, sir, I'm begging you, help me banish this ghost." "I'll pay you whatever you ask." The old man gave him a sharp look and said, "Where there's karma, there's consequence. I will deal with the ghost. As for payment, I only need enough to cover my tools. If you truly want to make amends,
Use your money to help the poor. Do good. Visit temples. Build up your virtue. I will."
I'll do whatever you say," Uncle Ben cried. "What do I need to do now?" "You bought everything I told you to get, didn't you?" "Yes, I didn't miss a single thing." "Good. First, hang a killin stepping on a bagua disc above the main beam of your house. That'll help reduce the malevolent energy."
Hang a convex bagua mirror above the front door. Then have someone rebuild the back entrance so it's shifted to the side, away from the direct energy path. Cut down some of the trees around the house to let in more sunlight and yang energy. As for your father's grave, I'll choose a good day and location for reburial based on feng shui. Thank you, sir. I'll get started right away. Uncle Ben was about to rush off, but the old man stopped him. "Hold on, not so fast. Sit down. I need to ask you something." Uncle Ben quickly pulled out a stool and offered it to the old man. "Now tell me the truth," the exorcist said. "The truth about what, sir?" Ben asked, visibly anxious. Ben looked confused by that question. The old man continued, "I'm talking about the body buried at the bottom of that pond." Ben's face suddenly turned pale. "Body? What body? There's no body in my pond, sir." The old man sighed, stood up, and said calmly, "Fine. If you don't want to talk, I won't force you. But whether you'll live to see the next year, well, I can't promise anything. I'll be going now." As he turned to leave, Ben panicked and stopped him. "Wait, please, sir, sit down. I'll tell you everything." "The truth is," he hesitated for a long moment, then let out a heavy sigh. "This might be the result of my father's sins. It happened when I was still a child. I only learned the truth years later from my mother. Back then, our house wasn't like this, just an old traditional brick home. One time, my father was traveling by boat to buy rice from the bayou near Cypress Creek. That's where he met a young woman. She fell in love with him, and they were together for a while. But word was she was already married. Eventually, my father left her and came home. Months passed, and one stormy night, the woman showed up at our door. She said she was pregnant with my father's child, but he refused to acknowledge it. He had a public reputation. Any scandal could destroy his standing. My mother definitely wouldn't forgive him either. That woman cried all night and left during the storm. The next morning, when my father opened the back door, he found her body, dressed in a red dress, hanging from the old sycamore tree by the pond. "What did they do with the body?" the old man asked. "I never heard the details. All I know is that not long after my mother's health declined, she had constant nightmares, and so did I. At night, strange things began happening, like the sound of sorrowful weeping echoing through the house. Fresh cooked rice would spoil within the hour, smelling like mud and rot. While my father was still struggling to deal with all this, a man showed up out of nowhere, claiming to be a feng shui master. He told my father the land was cursed and causing misfortune and illness. He offered to rebuild our house according to proper feng shui principles to change our fate. Desperate for a solution, my father agreed. That's how this house was built. Before the feng shui master left, he instructed my father that when he passed, the family must build him a tomb exactly like the one you see today. For a while, things seemed to get better, but my mother's condition worsened, and the strange happenings never fully stopped. Out of options, my father brought in a spiritual medium. The two of them went out back and spoke privately. No one else was allowed to follow. After that, the medium left, and for the first time, peace returned to the house. From then on, my father forbade anyone, even family, from ever disturbing.
"That pond," the old man nodded slowly, piecing things together. "Now I understand. If I'm right, your father, afraid of the scandal and what it would do to his reputation, buried that woman's body in the pond with your mother's help to hide the truth. But the woman's spirit was filled with grief and hatred. She took
Her own life right here on this land, and her soul never moved on. That's why she haunted your family night after night, trying to destroy all of you. As for that feng shui master, I believe he was sent, either by her husband or someone from her family, to curse your bloodline as revenge." Ben looked shocked. "But if they wanted revenge, why not go to the police? Why all this? Curses, hauntings, trickery?" The old man let out a cold laugh. "If they had gone to the authorities, only your father would have suffered. But by sending the feng shui master, they made sure that not just your father, but his descendants would be dragged down slowly, unable to rise again."
"That's the real cruelty of it." Ben buried his face in his hands. "I was so foolish. I even followed that man's instructions and built my father's tomb in the exact cursed layout. I brought this on myself." Your father must have realized.
"The ghost was still here," the old man said, "so he brought in a shaman to seal it away. That's why your family lived in peace for a while. But there's one thing I still don't understand. Why did you dredge up the pond after your father, warned never to touch it?" Ben hesitated, then lowered his head in shame. "Honestly, it was greed. A while ago, I kept hearing fish splashing around like crazy every night. I figured, after all these years, they must have grown huge. I thought I could catch and sell them for a good profit. I forgot my father's warning. I only saw dollar signs." "Greed clouds the mind," the old man said gravely. "The sins of the father are now yours to carry. I wish it were only me. But the ghost, she took my son's life."
"Instead," the old man looked at him solemnly, "this woman's resentment is deep.
"She won't stop until her pain is released. Still, there's something that doesn't add up. Even if the pond was disturbed, the 4 talisman jars were still in place. So how How did she manage to break free? At that moment, I finally spoke up, interrupting their conversation. Sir, I think I might have accidentally helped the ghost escape. As I said those words, guilt and regret weighed heavily on me. Both men turned to me in shock. Ben was the first to react. That's right. I remember now. I asked Jack to help dredge the pond that day. Could that be when the spirit got out? The old man turned to me, his voice suddenly quiet but intense. I sensed something off about
you from the beginning. Now tell me everything. Start from the beginning. Yes, sir. This is what happened.
I began recounting everything that had taken place over the past few days. As I finished, Ben slammed his hand down in frustration. I can't believe it. You were just as greedy as I was. You're the reason those 2 innocent lives were lost. Enough, the old man cut in. Now's not the time to point fingers. Everything happens for a reason. What matters now is that we know the truth. The vengeful spirit possessed the gold bracelet and used this young man's life force to escape. Oh no, he suddenly stood up, face turning serious, and looked me in the eye. You threw that bracelet
into the river next to your house, didn't you? Yes, I did. Is anyone still at your house? My wife, I couldn't bring her with me. She's not well mentally. Damn it. We have to go now. We might still be in time. What's
happening, sir?
I asked in panic. There's no time to explain. We need to get to your house immediately. I'll explain on the way. And just like that, the 3 of us rushed off into the dusk. The sky had already dimmed to a smoky grey as we hurried
down the long road. Along the way, the old man finally spoke again. That woman's ghost, she died with unresolved rage, betrayed by the man she loved, and buried beneath the pond like garbage. Of course she despises water, and now you've thrown her into the river behind your house. Think about what that means. And you left your wife alone? God help her.
I only hope her fate isn't already sealed. His words sent a chill down my spine. My wife, mentally unstable, fragile, was all alone in that house. And the road home felt endlessly long. By the time we arrived, night had fully fallen. We stood
in front of the house, and something felt immediately wrong. It was too quiet. Normally, the place would be alive with the sound of frogs and crickets from the nearby fields. But tonight, it was dead silent. No lamplights glowed from inside. The windows were dark, heavy with a thick, suffocating blackness. No sign of my wife. If it were any other night, she would have been screaming by now. I started to rush inside when the old man stopped me with a firm hand. She's not in there, he said calmly. Don't bother. Now listen, go light a large torch for
me. I did exactly as he said, lighting a bundle of dry sticks until a tall flame blazed.
But instead of entering the house, the old man headed straight for the riverbank, right where I had thrown the bracelet. Now bring me 3 sticks of incense, he ordered, and prepare the following: uncooked rice, salt, 2 bowls of water, 3 cups of wine, 2 candles, and a full offering tray. Do you have any spirit money left in the house? Yes, sir. We still have some left from the last offering day. Good. Bring all of it, right now. Once everything was gathered, the old man carefully arranged the offerings by the riverbank. At a glance, it looked just like a traditional spirit appeasement ritual. Then, from the cloth bag slung over his shoulder, he pulled out 2 large iron nails and a spool of red thread. He tied one end of the red thread to each nail. Then he walked 7 steps to the left of the altar and hammered 1 nail into the far riverbank. He did the same on the right side, creating 2 taut red lines stretching across the altar in perfect symmetry. When it was done, he turned to me and said, Write your wife's birth date on that large spirit bill and tie it to one end of the red thread. Toss that end into the river. Then take the other end and tie it around the middle finger of your left hand. After that, kneel in the center of the ritual circle and call your wife's name with all your heart. I swallowed hard. Sir, what
exactly happened to my wife? The old man let out a long sigh. She's already gone. There's no saving her now. All I can do is help recover her body. Last time, that female ghost only stole part of her spirit, which left her in a state
between sanity and madness. But this time, he sighed again. I broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. My God, Mina, my poor Mina, I've done this to you. I killed you. Don't cry now, the old man said gently. I'm going to use a soul-calling ritual to recover her remains. Her spirit is lost, wandering without direction. We have to find her body before midnight. If we fail, she'll be lost forever. Focus now. Pray with everything you have. I did my best to hold back my grief and began to pray. The old man started chanting a long incantation in an ancient tongue. He dipped 2 paper effigies in rice wine, then threw them into the river. Ben stood nearby, silent and tense, barely breathing. Moments later, the water between the 2 red threads began to bubble and churn violently as if it were boiling. The old man's chanting grew faster and louder. Then slowly, my wife's body began to surface from the depths. Her skin was a mottled purple, blood oozing from her mouth and her eyes. Her eyes had rolled back, nothing left but the whites.
My heart shattered. I rushed into the water to pull her body out, screaming in pain and despair. The old man barked, "Get her out of the water, now!" As I dragged her ashore, the golden bracelet began to float up behind her.
Quick as lightning, the old man tied a talisman to a string and flung it at the bracelet. It wrapped around it, and with a sharp tug, he yanked it out of the river and into his hand. He chanted again, broke the tips off the 3 incense sticks, placed them in a small jar, then sealed the bracelet inside along with a protective charm and tied it shut with red thread. "It's done," he said at last, exhaling deeply, as if releasing a heavy burden. "It's caught, isn't it?" Ben asked, hesitantly. The old man nodded. "Yes, I'll take it back with me to be purified. Hopefully, it'll be freed soon." I barely heard their conversation. I was still on the ground, cradling my wife's lifeless body, weeping silently. The old man placed a hand on my shoulder. "Life and death are fated," he said softly. "Don't lose yourself in sorrow. From your aura, I can tell. You're destined for fortune and wealth one day. Just keep doing good and stay true." I wiped my tears, stood, and clasped the old man's hand with deep gratitude. "Thank you for bringing Mina back to me." That was when I noticed it, a crescent-shaped scar on his hand. Uncle Sam, who had been listening quietly, suddenly cut in. A crescent-shaped scar was his hair tied in a top-knot, thin build, but with piercing, clear eyes. The kind of person who made you shiver just by looking at him? Yes, that's exactly how he looked, Uncle. Uncle Sam's eyes widened. "That must have been Master Nam. My late wife once described him to me in detail." So he really was Master Nam, the legendary exorcist I've heard about all my
life? I never even knew. From the moment he appeared to the moment he left, he never once mentioned his name. Uncle Sam took a deep sip of his drink, visibly moved. Master Nam, a true man of virtue. He helps without asking for anything in return. Then he sighed. "I'm truly sorry about what happened to your wife, but it's all in the past now. Try not to dwell on it."
I'm all right now, Uncle. It's been years. Jack poured more wine. We drank silently into the night, glass after glass. Our voices drifted through the darkness, growing fainter and fainter until they faded into the silence of the night. Next morning, the sun was already high in the sky when I jolted awake. My head throbbed like it had been split in two. Then it hit me. I had something important to do today. I scrambled out of bed and rushed to brush my teeth and wash up. Just then, I heard voices calling from outside the front door. "Ethan, you up yet?" It was Uncle Sam and Jack. My parents were out, so I stepped into the yard to greet them. "Hey, Uncle Sam, are you looking for my dad? He probably went up to the next village." "Nah," he said. "We're here for you. Don't tell me you forgot already. We made plans last night while we were drinking." "Plans?" I stared at them blankly. I really couldn't remember anything. From the night before, I must have had too much to drink. I scratched my head and asked sheepishly, "Sorry, Uncle Sam, Jack. I had a bit too much last night." "What exactly did we talk about?" Jack chuckled. "Thanks to that drinking session, I found out you're the real deal." Still confused, I looked at him. Uncle Sam jumped in. "You told us everything last night."
While you were drunk? So you're a disciple of Master Nam, huh? And you kept it a secret from me this whole time? I'm really disappointed in you, kid. I was still fumbling for words when Uncle Sam continued. You said today's the big day? The day we go hunt that bridge ghost up by the northern crossing.
You know, the one people call the drowned spirit, because it always shows up sitting on the bridge at night. You even promised to let me and Jack join you on this hunt. We brought everything you told us to prepare. I've never been ghost hunting.
In my life, if you back out on us now, don't ever show your face to me again. Panic set in. No, I thought. I must have blabbed everything after drinking too much. Did I say anything else? I asked nervously. You said a lot, kid, Uncle Sam replied with a smirk. You were totally wasted, but don't worry, I'll tell you everything from the beginning.